oh so important to Peshawar Zalmi in order to kind of create their own destiny and make their way through to the playoffs. They did it in style in the city of Saints, Multan, against their Sultans today. They had absolutely no answers for Peshawar Zalmi, Babar and his men. Embracing the captain Mohammad Rizwan there. Friends now, but they were certainly foes on the field, and it was Zalmi that came out on top with an emphatic victory. After bowling them out for only 108, there was not much that the Zalmi could do other than to race through those runs at the back end. Taking a little look at the story of the game, how things went about. Well, Multan, they elected to bat first, and it ended up being a bit of a diabolical choice, only posting 108, getting bowled out in the 20th over. Shai Hope, the main resistance there, with 23 off 21, Tayaba 22. Not much else to speak of in terms of batting, but it was the bowling from Peshawar Zalmi that sealed the deal. 3 for Daniyal, 2 for Wood, and in reply, Peshawar Zalmi chased it down with ease, 110 for 3 in just the 13th over. Points table now. We said Zalmi needed to win to keep those playoffs hopes alive. That's exactly what they've done, and they emphatically repaired that negative net run rate, almost breaking even now. And sitting in 5th on 8 points, but still 2 games in hand for them to get the job done and make it into the top 4. Pleasure to have your company back with us in the pitchside studio, unpacking all of the action we have just seen here in the Multan Cricket Stadium. Speaking about how good they were with the ball from Peshawar Zalmi, we've got Luke Wood, spearhead with the new ball, in the studio with us, and of course Dominic Corker, a former pacer himself, alongside. Luke, thank you so much for your time. Great bowling performance by all of you today. You have to have been pleased with that as a unit. Yeah, I think not just today, but we've been pretty good with the ball throughout the whole competition, I think. Sort of me and Alzari with the new ball, and then whether it's been through the middle with Seymour spin, and at the end we've took a lot of wickets, which plays a big part. But no, I think today just kind of shows what we've been doing the whole tournament. The plans obviously early on are to take wickets. We watched you, and I watched you a lot. You're looking to attack the wickets, attack the stumps straight away. And these wickets, have you been surprised how much the ball has done? Yeah, I think the only thing back to last year, every ground seemed pretty flat and pretty placid and didn't actually offer a lot, whereas I think it was only Multan here last year that did something, whereas this year I found they've been a little bit varied, like some have been quite slow, but some have actually gone through, but the ball has actually moved quite a bit, which for me, coming here is pretty unheard of. So, but no, it's been nice for obviously being a bowler, and with what I try and do with the new ball, the fact it's moved has really helped. And considering that you didn't play the first 2 games, now you're an absolute fixture in every single one of the playing 11 so far. What are you enjoying about the Pakistan wickets this particular time around, and what potentially suits your game so well? I feel like just because I'm quite short and skiddy, they suit me quite well, just because it doesn't really bounce. So it's probably onto people a bit quicker than they might expect, and especially with that swing and movement we've had so far, it just aids me in doing what I do best. And then also, because the wickets aren't, I don't think actually they've been particularly abrasive, so the ball's not scuffing up as much, so it's swinging for longer, which, like I bowled, think 3 in the power play the majority of the games I've played. So it kind of shows maybe what the surface and the rest of it. And as a bowling unit, it's a nice mix. Obviously, you with your left arm, you've got Alzari Joseph, the young Ali Raza, who we spoke to Glenn Chappell about. There's a nice mix of senior players and younger players. Yeah, no, I think even if you look through lads who've just come in, Daniyal, come in the last 2 games, he's made a big impact. Hussain Talat's not been needed with the ball, and then Mohammad Ali last game, obviously it's unfortunate to miss out today, but everyone's kind of contributed, and the depth we've got, especially in bowling, whether it's on or off the field, has been great. Yeah, you've certainly been exceptional as a bowling unit, and you've kind of come into your fore as the season's progressed. We know it's really difficult when you get a brand new bunch of guys. You're expected to try and gel and figure out what your positions are, even within the playing 11, should you get there. Just how hard and chaotic is it at the beginning of any franchise season? Yeah, I think it's always figuring out the best combination. We've chopped and changed a little bit with different batters, different bowlers, and I feel like now we've got a pretty good balance, depth batting wise. Guys have started to come maybe back into form a bit more with the bat, so I feel like that's good for us progressing. And then bowling wise, like I said, we've been good throughout. I think it's just roles, different roles and what people take.
But yeah, from the last few games especially, I think we've been pretty good.
And now that win just gets you closer to the Qalandars and Karachi to get in that top 4. What is the chat in there? Because obviously your final game's against the Qalandars, so it might be whoever wins goes through to the playoffs. But what is the chat? What's Babar? What's Mushtaq saying? Because we had Mushtaq here. Oh, well, we had him in Lahore, and he was saying a lot of things, as Mushtaq does. What are you saying in there, or the coach is saying?
I think it's just, we know we have to win. We said we probably have to win 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. We know that, and we know we came short on a couple of occasions which we probably should have won. But no, I think we know that the 2 big games for us realistically were Karachi and Lahore. They're the 2 that are above us. So whether you treat them like a quarter-final in a sense or a semi-final, the chat's very positive. Even if when we've gone through sort of bad spells, it's been a case of like look forward to the next game and don't get too ahead of ourselves. But no, the chat from Babar, Mushy, Mo, everyone's been very positive, so yeah.
So only one change in the side, kind of feeling like Zalmi are finally settling on that playing 11. Just how difficult is it as an overseas to even break your way into a side? You know, you've got the likes of TKC sitting on the sidelines. We know how good he can be. Max Bryant's barely played a game. He comes in today and makes an impact. How do you stay fit and ready and mentally ready to attack a game in a franchise cricket tournament when, you know, you're not even really sure of whether or not you're even going to get a start?
I just think it's a case of you have to commit in your head to playing, even if you sort of know you're not. Because it can be quite easy to get into like a sluggish mindset of you kind of drift along, and then when your chance does come, you're not ready. So yeah, and we've seen a lot of the different teams like shifting personnel, especially when things don't go very well. So yeah, I think it's just keeping an optimistic mindset and when you're training for a purpose. But when it comes to the game, like you never know, someone can roll their ankle and you're in. So you just have to be mentally prepared. That's all.
Yeah, and obviously came in as a replacement. Well, not as a replacement, but you were only going to do the first bit. Now you looks like you're all the way through. Yeah. In some ways that's good for you because you want to play in the big tournaments. The Pakistan Super League is a massive tournament, so you're here to stay, try and get him in the finals. Yeah,
it's been a bit of a weird sort of dynamic. Obviously just coming for the first 5 and then I'm staying. And but no, like I said, I came wanting to come the whole time. But I played the whole one last year and it was great tournament to be a part of, and we did pretty well. So I love playing for this group. They're a great bunch of lads, and I think this year we've got a really good team. So no, it's nice to be involved the whole time and hopefully take us to the finals.
Pakistan's known for its out-and-out pacers. There's certainly been some incredible ones right throughout. You know, were like the likes of Wasim Akram and Waqar Yunus guys that you looked up to at all in terms of your bowling as a youngster coming through?
Yeah, Wasim's the obvious one. I've watched him a lot. I've been looking to speak to him quite a few times. He's been down at Lancs back home, or whether it's over here or wherever. So, no, as one of my idols, pretty obviously, it's been pretty cool.
How about Goffey as a Yorkshireman?
I've not seen Goffey in a while, but no, I do like Goffey. He's only because he's short.
I hope he's not watching. You know, if you're saying he's 6 foot, he's never been 6 foot, Goffey.
You've got to work harder if you're slightly on the shorter side as a fast bowler, would you say? Is that it's been a positive as well as a detriment?
I don't think it is. I think it can help you, can't it? To you know, swing it underneath, but also the possibility of just shocking people with that shorter ball.
I think it's just naturally different. I think it's like probably not too dissimilar to the blokes who are like Jameson, who's obscenely tall.
Yeah.
It's
sorry, Joseph.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, not that I'm obscenely short, but no, it's I think it's just
that's it.
If you want to say that.
Yeah.
I just think it has its own advantages, like someone who's tall does. I find over here it does probably help to my advantage.
And are you a bit of a cricket nuffy? Do you keep an eye on everything that's going on around you in terms of the upcoming talent? And if so, anyone from Pakistan caught your eye recently?
Only because I've seen a lot of him bowl. Like obviously spoke about him earlier, Ali Raza.
Yeah.
Just for how young he is, it's like so impressive. The pace and almost the control and the balls he has and can bowl, and he gets good players out. And Babar trusts him at key times. So for me, looking at I think he's 17, 17-year-old lad. I think back to when I was 17. It's not like chalk and cheese. So no, I'm very impressed by him.
Oh, impressive yourself as well again this evening. 2 for 18 off your 3. Imagine if you got a few more balls, but you didn't need to because you guys got the job done really comprehensively today. Luke Wood, thank you so much for your time here in the pitchside studio.
Thank you very much.
Go and enjoy.
Yeah, good luck.
Awesome win. Off to a very short break here, but do stick with us. We've got plenty more coming on the other side. It was a really important clash for Peshawar Zalmi heading into this match against the Multan Sultans. All this talk about them having to take their destiny in their hands, and that is exactly what they did here this evening. An emphatic 7-wicket win to them. As Dominic Cork joins me back in the pitchside studio, as too does Ramiz Raja.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
nice
sir.
Dress.
Thank you very much.
Really nice one.
Got my Shalwa kameez
yes,
back
absolutely.
on. But I wanted to ask you, we kept saying how important this match was for Babar Azam and his men today to try and reap the better awards for this season for them. Were you impressed with what they managed to put together against Multan?
Yes, I thought the pitch wasn't that bad really to stop Multan Sultans to, what, 110 or whatever they got in the end. So Babar Azam would be pretty happy because then they improved the net run rate as well as a result of that great innings from Saim Ayub. It's so important for them that Saim Ayub clicks. You know, in important matches you want your best player to be on form, and he was on song completely.
Yeah, it looked like a different batting lineup, didn't it, when he was making runs up the top, Corky?
Yeah, and I think Ramiz is spot on. I think when you can get him, you know, scoring runs. Look, he had a little bit of luck. It was looked a little bit rusty, and I think that's just part and parcel of trying to get through a tough time as a batter. But I think once you see him play those shots, that little clip to leg side for a 6, and then he cut one over point for 6, you know that he's coming back, because that combination we had last year, I know Babar's not opening, but Babar and Saim, the best combinations. If they can get back to that in these next couple of games going into playoffs, you know, they'll be a force to try and take down.
It was good to see the Zalmi back in the runs, but it was a short run chase due to how incredible the bowling effort was for the entire Peshawar Zalmi unit. Let's relive the fall of wickets of Multan in the first innings.
Yeah, I mean, there's the in-between shot there, trying to play the sweep shot, the lap sweep. In the end, you know, it was caught, and then Rizwan does play the slot sweep. Didn't happen this time, and so it was such an important player for Multan Sultan. Some of the big shots didn't really materialize. This was a soft dismissal. It just come in, and then another one bowled around the legs. It's just overall very neat performance against a team that obviously has been very, very low in sort of, you know, brute mentality.
And I think when you see these wickets, you can just see a team that are struggling confidence-wise, a team that haven't had a lot of luck. You know, you think of Rizwan caught deep square leg, and, you know, you've all played them shots. On another day, that goes out of the park. And you just see towards the end, these are tail-enders who are trying something. It doesn't work. And I think Rizwan was spot on. He said the wicket is better, and they should have got more runs.
Talk about comprehensive, doesn't get much more comprehensive than that. Bowling your side out for only 108 today, Ramiz. Wickets has never been the problem. The bowling unit's always been pretty strong for Peshawar Zalmi. What impressed you more, the way that the Pacers attacked that wicket today, or the purchase spin?
Yeah, I thought Daniyal was a perfect example of how to bowl on a surface like this. We saw him bowl at 140, we saw him slacken the pace, dropped it down to 120s, and so he kept the batsman guessing all the time, and so the off-cutters, the quicker deliveries did work extremely well. And this was a kind of pitch where variations were needed.
How apt it is that you bring up Ahmed Daniyal. He was our player of the match this evening. Let's relive a couple of his highlights now.
Bowled really well, and I think he is spot on. You know, you're going to have a little bit of luck as a bowler. You know, another day that goes for 4 and you do nothing about it. But when you consistently bowl back of a length, you change your pace, you'll reap the rewards of it at some stage. He bowled brilliantly, backed up by all the rest of the bowlers.
Yeah, brilliant 3 wickets by him today. Only his second match for Zalmi this season, Ramiz. We don't know a lot about him. He's played about 30 T20 matches in his career, 27 years of age. What else can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's been sort of out of touch. He's been injured also, so it's been a checkered career. He's still young. but we saw the potential. So he's trying to make a comeback, and what a comeback it was, because he bowled with a lot of fire. He showed a lot of emotions and passion, which is needed, and then the results were outstanding. 3 for 17 on what was supposed to be a good batting surface was outstanding from a guy who was making this kind of a comeback on such a platform.
And how quickly did he surmise how to get the best out of the conditions tonight, Corky?
Well, I think he did, because he changed up the pace, and I think that's imperative when you're bowling on quite a good batting pitch. And Ramiz will tell you as a batter that ultimately as a batter you just want to try and make it difficult for them, and as a bowler what he did well was hit back of a length, make it difficult, straight lines, bowl the odd slower delivery. So that was perfect for me, backed up by, I just think, a complete bowling performance.
Yeah.
Daniyal, yes. Ali Raza, I'll keep saying it. I think this young man will be bowling for Pakistan very soon. And the PCB, I know we've talked about it before, look after this young man.
Yeah.
He's a talent.
Yeah.
And make sure that everything is right for this young man, because if he can bowl that pace and get that bounce, invest in his future, because he is the future of Pakistan cricket.
Because we want to see him back up this breakout season in the HBL PSL. My mind springs to like Ihsanullah, who had that season and then was so injured. We didn't get to see a lot of him.
Right.
It kills me because he was so potent, and then for him to kind of slip off the, the train of thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biomechanics lab can help them a great deal, because then you know what area of your body is being under a lot of stress. For example, in Raza's case, his back probably, the way he bowls flat out every time. Every ball is around 140 clicks. That's got to take a lot out of you as a 17-year-old kid. So you've got to take them to biomechanic labs, make sure that, you look after the areas that are under stress.
If only that were available when you were bowling, hey, Corky, where were you susceptible to injury?
I'm not sure.
He can still go to a biomechanic lab because his back is hurting.
Too much golf, I think, or no, it's not that. But no, literally, and he's spot on. That look after him. Make sure he's right, because he needs to be guided through his career from here. And tell it from somebody who was a 17-year-old who knew nothing about his body at that time and just run up and bowled. Now that technology is there, that can be invested into. Because I keep saying, everybody who sees him, Glenn Chappell, go and ask him, he's the future.
How old did you play till? 40?
40.
You could have been 50 if you'd had all this technology. Imagine!
I looked 50 when I retired, I can tell you, and I now look 70. Well, I wish that did better things and made it look, because I can see myself on that screen there. It's not nice.
Well, I'm married to a fast bowler who now has a spinal fusion, so I can tell you, Ramiz, it's incredibly
That's why I never bowled.
Yeah, look at it. You see the difference?
I'm
elegance.
Scratch-free.
Look at this here.
Yeah.
Not
so he
good.
looks like he's 40 years old at the moment. But absolutely brilliant by Ali Raza again. Daniyal, player of the match. But it wasn't just his bowling that was sensational. He was pretty sharp in the field too. He was our safe hands of the night.
We've seen a lot of these go down, especially at the Gaddafi Stadium, especially that last over the other night. Sensational catch. Never easy to judge. Luke Wood, with a smile on his face, because he'll know that sometimes, especially against Rizwan, they go out of the park. It is brilliant.
Yeah, he paused and then dive and then safe hands. Fabulous.
Safest. A bit of namaste in that celebration from Luke Wood there, wasn't it? Wasn't feisty enough for a fast bowler?
Absolutely. I was never feisty though, really. I was quite sedate, wasn't I?
No
absolute
chance.
porkies.
No chance.
No, absolutely no chance. Oh, he was absolutely brilliant today. Still plenty more to come here though in the pitchside studio as we decipher all of the action we've just seen from Peshawar Zalmi's thumping victory across the Multan Sultans. Do not go anywhere. Thanks for sticking with us in the pitchside studio, looking at an emphatic victory for Peshawar Zalmi over the Multan Sultans today. They needed to win and win big. I now have some new victims, we'll call it, in the studio with me.
Victims?
Lisa Staleka
that is
and Mike
correct.
Haseman.
Yes, we are victims.
You
yes.
are very tired after a long day, but a lot of action there. If you're a Peshawar Zalmi fan, what did you enjoy about what they did?
You know, I was very pleased that they won actually, and won well. I mean, I think it was really important for them, and I think for the rest of this tournament that it's going to be there's a nice sort of cluster in the middle there for these points to get in that final four. So for them to play well today rather than go down today, then win the next two and rely on points, other results going their way, I think it was really important. Saim Ayub getting runs is important. I think I was very pleased to see that. So I think that's a big plus. When they toured South Africa before he got injured, he played out of his shoes. He was unbelievable in South Africa. Some of the 2 innings, he got 100 in the T20 at SuperSport Park, which was just totally remarkable. So if he finds form and it looks like he's grappling to find it, but it looks like he's gradually getting there, he could make a big difference in that lineup for starters. So them getting up is important, and him getting form, I think, is essential for their future in this tournament.
And Lisa, we spoke a lot in the pitchside studio pre-match about the importance of Zalmi having the destiny in their own hands, and the moment didn't overcome them tonight.
No, it didn't. And obviously preparation and then to be able to execute is really crucial. And given the fact that they've got games now coming thick and fast and they've got a little bit of travel, you kind of want to get on that winning train and be able to do that against a side that is down and out is really important, because sometimes when a team is out of the competition, they can bite other teams because there's no care factor.
They had nothing to lose. They made 7 changes, I believe, Hazy, and it didn't really do them any favours tonight.
No, it didn't, and that disappointed me a little bit, because there were guys who were given opportunities, and I always like to see young guys, whether they're particularly young or getting an opportunity for the first time, or maybe a couple of runs before and they're getting another go at playing for Multan, to grab those opportunities. I like to see that, but their body language from pretty much ball 1 of this whole game to me just seemed off, and it didn't seem ideal in any way at all. So I was quite disappointed. I thought they'd come out. When I heard about the 7 changes initially, I was a bit shocked about it, but I thought, well, hang on a sec, well, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Why don't you give those guys a bit of a run for the rest of this tournament and see what happens? But gee, those guys have got to grab it and really make full opportunity of it, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with the surface, that's for sure. But yeah, the whole demeanour of that side today was disappointing overall for me.
Lisa, you wanted to see exactly that happen, to give some young guys or some unearthed talent an opportunity to shine. Did anyone impress you tonight?
Yeah, probably Aziz. He picked up a couple of wickets and bowled with some pace. Yep. I was a little bit disappointed about Ubaid Shah, because I've enjoyed what he's been able to do previous matches, but maybe the lack of runs and everything taking its toll, whereas Aziz was like fresh, playing his first match, picked up those 2 important wickets. So there was a couple of shining lights, albeit very small, but I agree with Hazy. You want players, and we've seen this, you literally may get 1 opportunity in your career, and you have to grab it, because it may not come again. And so fingers crossed for those players that didn't perform well today. They've got 1 more opportunity.
Well, the batting line... Sorry,
just one point, Ed. You mentioned the point at the start about the contracts as well. It's quite important. So if one of these young guys who grabbed an opportunity and really played really well, I mean, and suddenly his name comes to the fore straight away, and his future, I mean, who knows? He gets another run next year and then plays well, plays a couple of games, then he's off and running, and then his whole career has suddenly changed dramatically. So it doesn't happen all the time, but every now and then we get surprised or delighted, really is probably a better word, to see someone do that. But not today.
The world is always watching too. There's always an opportunity to shine whenever you get a chance. Unfortunately for the Multan Sultans, though, only 108 on the board, all they could manage. In terms of the chase, they were going to have to be spectacular with the ball, but I think this was probably the turning point of the night.
This pretty much summed it up for me. I mean, this was just regulation. I mean, Shane Hope is an international cricketer, and that is just an absolute sitter. And had that been taken to that stage, it would have been 2 for not too many. Hasname was bowling his first over, was bowling quite sharp. The Babe was bowling the other end, and also was bowling quite nicely. And so this could have been a whole different story in my game. I mean, he didn't really get a handle on it, if you really want to think about it. Really disappointing.
Yeah, certainly a turning point there. And Lisa, he goes on to make 49, so costly.
I've always believed in T20 cricket is sometimes you need a little bit of luck. And I think for Saim Ayub, he got exactly that. When you think of his tournament, he got a half century, then the last 6 innings, only 20 runs. Everyone's like going, where is this guy? You know, I know he's been injured. I know he's been out of the game for a while. So I think it was really crucial for him and for Peshawar Zalmi that Shea Hope dropped that, and he was able to go on, albeit just one shy of 50, but 49 runs, 49 important runs for him.
And just further on that injury again, because I mean, he was playing so brilliantly in South Africa, and then to get that freakish injury was just weird that it happened like it did. It was a non-event really, and then suddenly he was off to have a Achilles sorted out. But to have that injury, was Achilles or ankles?
I can't remember.
No, I can't either. But it was severe to keep him on the sidelines for a long, long time. So he would have been obviously really disappointed when it happened, and obviously would have been low for a few weeks, number of weeks before he's coming back. Then he can't get runs. As I saw that form, he can't get any runs, and then he gets a lucky break today, and maybe now he's off. So there we go, a bit of a turnaround for him.
I mean, Achilles or ankle, whichever it is,
it's below the knee.
Integral to a batter, particularly if you need to work your way into an innings. Maybe you are struggling at the beginning, you need to rotate the strike. If you're not confident that you can actually dash down the wicket, Lisa, that's got to impact your performance.
Yeah, I think probably he would have earmarked the HBL PSL as the place where he wanted to get back in and be 100% fit. You only know until you kind of do your first game, and that's why that half century in the first game, you think, oh, he's back. Yeah. And then he's struggled a little bit. But yeah, I think from a fitness point of view, he's looked really good. He's just been shy of some runs and some confidence.
Yeah, well, a costly drop, and the cricket fairy certainly rewarded him tonight because he was our Super Sixers of the evening. He hit 3 maximums.
After that life, he was given some gifts. Gifts firstly on the legs, where he was able to clip the ball nicely and then use the pace as well and swivel around. And then the very next delivery, Ubaid Shah gave him width on the offside, and that was a wonderful strike. This one was clever as well, so excellent batting by Saim Ayub.
Well, we're off to a short breather here at the Pitchside studio. Still a little more to come, so don't turn off the channel. Stick with us. We'll come back on the other side. A very warm welcome back to the Pitchside studio. We're celebrating the winner Peshawar Zalmi across the Multan Sultans today. And Multan Sultans, now they threw the kitchen sink at this game. 7 changes for them. And what a refreshing moment it was for one particular man when he got the big wicket of Babar Azam.
Well, Shahid Aziz was able to really get the ball in a perfect position, good length, and then what surprised Babar Azam, who hadn't been out from a right-hand seamer, was that the ball nicked back, went back on his back leg, hit the off stump, huge wicket.
I mean, that's also his first wicket in the PSL, and that's just outstanding stuff. So, I mean, I like in those sort of situations, you watch someone's pure excitement, delight, then there's a celebration at the end there, and when he was just jumping up and down by himself and having a great time in the background, and a wicket to get Babar first up, and that's unbelievable stuff.
I think he's 22 years of age, so he would have spent a long time looking at Babar Azam on the screen, watching him plunder so many bowlers around the world, and then he gets his big break, his big opportunity, and that's his first wicket. That's pretty special.
Magic. And thinking, well, I'd love to have a go at him. Well, perhaps I wouldn't. Perhaps he's going to draw me through the covers. But no, I might get him out. Yeah, and I did. You know, terrific. Really nice.
And the first time Babar gets out to a right arm seamer in this tournament as well.
Wow, good knowledge.
To Lisa, no, I'm stolen from the great Lisa Staleka.
Well done,
I can't
Lisa.
take credit for that.
Well done.
But thank you. I know you do your homework, so walk us through this one.
Yeah, I mean, he's really struggled, and we've spoken at times throughout this HBL PSL about the left arm seamers, and we've seen that Babar Azam has slid down to number 3, albeit Mitch Owen hasn't really stayed there any longer, so he's almost opening. And it feels like other teams have forgotten that that's the plan that's been so successful. But it just shows you how well Aziz was able to bowl, being the first one in this edition of the HBL PSL to pick him up.
Brilliant.
And restricted Babar Azam once again. We've seen glimpses of his brilliance, not the normal Babar Azam, but potentially now heading into the playoffs, he'll absorb that pressure and, you know, come to the fore like he's done for so many years.
The last couple of knocks that I've seen him, obviously the 50 not out was, I mean, it was just a determined knock, that one. He looked like he was really determined to make sure he steered it and got them home, and then he got 40 odd in a previous knock, 48 I think it was, and played pretty well then. We saw glimpses then that was the cover drives are coming back and through mid-wicket and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, he's never going to lose it. I mean, Babar's, he's right up there with the very, very best when it comes to pure ability. Sometimes I don't think he's perhaps as steely, as steely determined as he should be sometimes. I mean, I think there's a few players around the world that you watch them play, guys of yesterday. I mean, Steve Smith's maybe one, Kohli's perhaps another one. Even David Warner, we haven't seen the best of him, of course, now, and I think he might be just sort of on a bit of a wane, a fraction. But I think Babar Azam, sometimes you just don't get the impression that he's like really being as steely as he possibly can out there in the middle to do the job for himself and also his team. And I think that's something I'd like to see him sit down, and people can say that to him, but he's got to actually analyse that himself and come to that conclusion himself, because he's a brilliant player.
It's hard because there's actually so much cricket that goes on, doesn't there now? You literally go from one tournament to the next, and that's a good and a bad thing as well, because when things are great, you want to keep playing, but when things are not, that's when you really struggle.
And is it the time to work on any technical deficiencies or quirks that you've picked up with how much cricket we're playing these days?
It's hard, but someone of his skill,
not for him.
He could change between each game because he's so in tune with his skill set.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen the best of Babar yet, and it's still to come, particularly if Zalmi keep pushing for one of those playoff berths. All to play for still. It's wonderful to not actually know who our playoffs teams are going to be this far into the tournament. But one guy who was back in the runs today, good signs from the Australian, a little further down the order than sometimes we see him, Lisa, but I'm talking Max Bryant, and we're talking his boundaries.
Yeah, he played well today. He was in a bit of a hurry at the end, wanted to finish it pretty quickly. 38 off 20 balls, 5 fours and 1 6. A couple of really lusty blows down the ground too. He's a very strong lad, as we can see, and I thought he played a couple of nice shots. So good to see him get some runs. Just out in the last couple.
Well, they chased down 108 with 42 balls remaining, and what that's done to Peshawar Zalmi's net run rate is absolutely brilliant. They went from -0.5 all the way to almost sitting even there, as you mentioned before, Mike Hazeman, on 8 points. Peshawar Zalmi still 2 games in hand. Do they have what it takes to sneak into 4th?
They do. I think they do, and particularly they've got that game in hand. That's important for them as well. So they've played really well today. They can kick into the next one with 2 games to go. I mean, they can actually make quite a difference at that table and sneak in there and put a bit of extra pressure. And that last game against Cullenders is going to be a very important game.
Lots to play for at the moment. We are on to an off day later on today, I have to say. Of course, we've ticked past midnight, but tomorrow, technically, Lisa Staleka, Islamabad United are back at home against Quetta Gladiators. That's match 26. Is coming home going to do them a world of good with this form? Yeah,
hopefully. They need to turn things around pretty quickly, because after the 3 losses, you've got to figure things out. But we're getting to the fiery end of the competition, which we love.
Isn't it amazing to think they made those changes? They had that week off, made all those changes, and suddenly gone south since then. So, bit of an error.
Do you think it's something about the Pindi pitches that suits their power game, though? It's always pretty batting friendly there, and they're very stacked top 6.
But they've got all bases covered, should I say. The problem is I'm not a big fan of the amount of changes that they've made throughout.
No, I do agree with that too. I agree with that. They shouldn't have made all those changes after a week.
Oh, well, plenty to look forward to when we head to Pindi. We'll be there later on today. Thank you so much for all of you joining us at home. It's been a wonderful game. Congratulations to Peshawar Zalmi, and we'll see you tomorrow for the all-important match-up in Pindi. But it's bye for now.